Okay, this is a quick review of the Brita jug Marella XL. Comes in this rather large box, very good, inside which you get the jug, which is well wrapped inside good plastic. Within the jug itself you get this blue water container and a removable lid, inside which there is a single Maxtra filter, which we'll come to in a moment. Okay, I've got here another box of 4. Typically one cartridge lasts you a month, 4 weeks to be precise. Okay, this is the XL. This holds 3.5 litres of water. I'm buying this to replace my older Elemaris XL water jug, which is also a Brita jug. As you can see, it's still full of water. Differences are, this design has a slightly quirky 4-point rubber feet base, which actually narrows the base down. I wouldn't say it has a tipple point, but it's certainly not as sturdy as a wider base unit will be. One advantage the Elemaris has is that this jug is clearly going to be in and around water, filling it, splashing it, etc. And underneath here you've got plenty of room for moisture to dry, so there's not going to be any trapped water underneath, and it's going to quickly dry itself. Where this new Marella jug has a pretty watertight, airtight seal on the bottom, so we'll see whether that has a similar issue or not. I plan to stand this on a folded tea towel. That's generally how I do things. The lid differs, the fill point differs in that it's a hinged thumb opening. Clever Brita have done it in such a way that it can either be held open by your thumb, or as you can see, if you have it fully open, it stays open by a click. There is again the Brita, they call it a percentage timer. I'm going to quickly remove the sticker so you can see it better. It has a start button which you reset once a month, and a percentage indicator, and it will have 4 bars from 100% down to 0. Typically each bar is a week. As I say, 4 weeks is the planned use of a cartridge, in which time you expect it to replace it. The Elemaris had a different system. It had a weighted hinged float, which I'll be honest, I'm quite pleased to be getting rid of. This itself is another fiddly item to clean. Didn't work too well and didn't actually keep all the dust out that I'd like it to. So I'm quite pleased to be seeing the back of that, and quite happy to have this well sealed flip lid. Okay, as you can see, it's got a little flip on the front which will help keep, again, dust and insects getting into the water, which is also important if you leave it out in the kitchen. And I'm now going to go and fill my jug, rinse it 3 times with the new filter inside, and start to use this. Okay, I've used the Marella XL Brita water cartridge filter a few times now, and I've got a few comments to pass. One thing is the design compared to this older Elemaris XL. The fill line, where you can see the cartridge actually sits on a spike that goes, let's say, 2/3 of the way up to the cartridge. So any water above that isn't really falling through and filtered, and is actually sitting in the cartridge, not filtering into the bottom reservoir. So I never really advise filling the Brita filters too high, because as you can see, you've actually got a situation where you've got water in effect going 2 ways, and there's no point having filtered water that can go back up into the quotes unfiltered area and back again. Shouldn't be a real problem with what you're drinking, but it just seems a little bit crazy on the cartridge. Okay, so this new Marella, the cartridge is a lot lower. I'm going to put the 2 units side by side now just to quickly compare, allow you to compare the heights. It's a lot lower in the jug itself, and this will give far less water in the lower unit before this situation occurs where the water is able to, let's call it, backflush up and down into the original filled reservoir. Now again, personal preference, I personally don't like the idea of that, and to me that means the capacity is overall lower. Okay, handles. The handle for the Marella, I've got quite big hands. It's a little bit smaller. I don't find that a problem. I can get enough fingers in there to grab a grip. But the shape and the overall position point for the thumb isn't as good as this older Elemaris. You had a much wider, squarer, squatter handle, and although it was only attached at the top, that always felt quite good, good shape. This jug, it's a little, you're forced to a point where you're a little bit more tipping the jug before you even feel like you've got a comfortable grip. So not as good a handle. A plus point going onto the Marella. The fill point is further back in the jug than the older Elemaris, which means even when you've still got water draining through, it's quicker for you to be able to use the jug and pour it, because water doesn't leave the top reservoir because of this halfway point here, with the water now, assuming that you've poured the jug, and you're not going to dribble unfiltered water into your glass, therefore being able to use this jug quicker from an empty position to be able to get a filtered glass of water out, which is good. This jug, the Elemaris, not so good. The fill point is quite central and certainly leaked, and with only a very little amount of water, you'd almost have to wait for the whole jug to filter through before you could use any of it. So plus points against the Elemaris for the Marella. It's got a good pour. I think that feels very nice. It's got a good tilt, range and pour, and all in all, the Brita jugs are well made, and I've had very few over the last 10 years of using them that have failed. This is actually my third jug. This is now going to be my fourth. I usually replace them generally because I do what they don't say. They say you can microwave. They say you can dishwasher all of the jug except for the lid. I've always dishwashed the lid. It's discoloured yellow because of that. It's got a slight yellowy tinge to it, yeah, I don't do what the manufacturer recommends on that, and eventually I think I make the plastic lids more brittle. I've had a few things break here, minuscule amount of breakage. There were two plugs here and a very similar flap that you can see here on this jug, and with that lug breaking, I've now not got anything to protect dust and flies falling on the top, hence I'm replacing my third jug, and here is my Marella fourth jug. All in all, I think it's going to be a very capable replacement, and I look forward to having a drink.